Good morning. So here we are and here we are. All Saints Day, November the 1st, 2020, in Harpenden, Hertfordshire, England, where hurricanes hardly ever happen. Oh Lord, well, another year then. I look back at my years and I think, I'm still here then, I suppose. What about all the unknown saints? So I just looked it up. It's not just the sort of big recognized ones. What about the countless, well, I'm afraid mothers come to mind, and all the love they pour into their lives, their children, their husbands, and so on. Actually, husband first, really. But it's jolly hard work. You watch these young mothers with their prams and they're stuffed full of nappies and wet wipes and bottles and playthings, and oh dear, woe betide you if you leave the favourite plaything behind. So, All Saints Day. Well, my fingers found, well, it's magic, this internet thing. You just go to Google and say hymns for All Saints Day, and wallop, it gives you a list. So holy, holy, holy Lord, that one. And then I had to just find old Louis. And when the saints go marching in, and when the saints go marching in. On his trumpet, of course. Well, death is a celebration for those who have found God through Christ. It is not the end. I've just, again, magic, internet, YouTube. And there's this really interesting series of talks by an American who is president of a Bible college study and so on. And he is focusing on the 7 churches of what was Galatia. So they're in Turkey: Ephesus, Smyrna, and so on. Philippi, can't just reel them off, but Laodicea and so on. And how the Christians in Smyrna, is the one I've just watched, were so persecuted, marginalized, persecuted, but he made the very, very valid point, which I myself have made on more than one occasion. This suffering of Christians is going on right now. Here I am sitting pretty. I can say more or less what I like, as long as it's not sort of hate speech, but I mean, I've spoken out against the big Roman Catholic Church and how I feel it's strayed from the straight and narrow of a Christian path, and certainly the Church of England, the fact the Queen is the Supreme Governor, but also the head of the army, and on and on. And yet I don't get a cheep out of anyone. If I tried that in China, I would be killed. I'd be taken out. I mean, I did actually know a chap whose wife, an English chap, was full Chinese, and he used to go out there, and he'd been amassing information to write a book, but he was holding back on it because it would be so damning of how the Chinese actually just execute Christians. And then I always remember when I was looking long and hard at becoming a priest through very high church here. St Albans is just down the hill. That's why I'm in this area. And there was a big meeting on a Tuesday evening, and the sort of secretary of all these churches, of this organization, international organization, a black lady, said, you here obviously venerate Alban, who was the first British martyr. I could tell you stories of how all around the world, within and the figure I remember was 37 places, locations, countries, a Christian would have been killed now, this week. And that is the reality of life still in the world, just for being a Christian. And then again I came, well, he mentioned it, the nice chap, he's Dr. Joseph something. His name hasn't got into my head yet. Polycarp, who knew John, as in John, the Gospel John, writing Revelation, which is about the seven churches as it opens. The book of Revelation, of course, the last book in the Bible, the New Testament. Polycarp was martyred at the age of 86 or so, and the standard question from the Romans, who had their gods, not the Christian God, was, renounce your God and we'll set you free, sort of thing. And the response is purported to have been from Polycarp, well, here I am, I've been a Christian for 86 years, and what? I'm going to renounce my whole life. Do what you like with my body. And then the legend goes that they lit this huge fire and the wind came and blew it out or something. So they stabbed him anyway. I'm only laughing because it's easier than crying. So it's still going on. He then spoke of the marginalization of Christians and how one of the things was you had to get into the, forgetting its name now, unfortunately, the marketplace anyway, in Latin, I mean, which is where all the business went on, trade and everything. You had to take a pinch of herb snuff or something and throw it in this fire to venerate the emperor, the Roman emperor, i.e. the god, to you, the human being. He was meant to be your great leader, etc. And of course the Christians wouldn't do that, so they couldn't get into the marketplace and trade, so they were marginalized financially. Then the Jews, the sort of upright, righteous and that lot, didn't want them around the early Christians, who would have been, many of them, Jews too, because to associate with these people who didn't bow and scrape to the emperor, again, would have threatened their kind of worldly position. So there's nothing new under the sun, quite frankly. I'm warming to the chap. I've just listened to two of his talks now on Ephesus, which was the first church he spoke of, and then now Smyrna, and then it goes on. He's very knowledgeable. I think he's 76 years old. I looked him up. Dr. Joseph something. It's not COVID. I just have anyway. New candle. I'm getting settled, look. Those pictures, that's my great-great-grandmother on the top. My mother with her two beautiful children, which I'm afraid includes me. It's my older brother and little me. And then that's little me in South Africa, William Ross, missionary ancestor, trade with Dr. David Livingstone. Went out to Southern Africa, missionary out there, and so on and so on. So that's my mother and my grandmother, and obviously Africa with the steam train, and obviously black people they're getting on. Very smart, aren't they, the ladies? And their skirts and their ducks, that's the head scarf thing and everything. It's actually a sensible time of day for a change. I have been up through the night, but never mind. Didn't make a film. So, All Saints' Day. And then, of course, tomorrow is All Souls' Day. So I'm better on All Souls' Day. I'm no saint. I've been married and so on and so on. I won't go into my story again. So, right. Well, it's the 1st of November. It's a Sunday, so I rather like that because it's easy to remember the date. 1 plus 7 equals 8. So the date on next Sunday will be the 8th, and the next Sunday will be the 15th, and lo and behold, the next Sunday will be the 22nd, and then it'll be the last Sunday of November, which will be the 29th. Ha! Doesn't happen that often when the first is the Sunday. Anyway, sun coming out, lovely peaceful scene, aren't I the lucky one? I am struggling to some extent with settling in such a... I have lived out for... I've had 11 years living out, mostly out, but I've been in sometimes in holy poverty, or close to it. I, with all my worldly goods just on my back and sleeping out wherever. Well, you're just, you have to find water in the morning, first thing. Have a wash, obviously, calls of nature. And then the day goes on. So you're just focused on essentially surviving, avoiding trouble, surviving that day. Find someone somewhere warm and dry and so on. Whereas now I've got all this material comfort. I've got just heater. I just push a button, bang. Lovely central heating. I've got a cooker, a fridge, and a very nice little kitchen, and my little chapel next door, and furniture and a warm kit and all the rest of it. Fresh, clean drinking water on tap, actually. And in England, this very much longed for, sought after commodity or whatever it is, gift almost, hard fought for and hard won over the centuries, freedom of speech. So, onwards and upwards, as the lovely old gardening chap used to say on Gardener's Question Time. It sorrows me. I have a very nice English friend, a Staffordshire man, who can read his parents' Bible in Greek, and he's sort of gone Buddhist, I think. And he's been trying to sort of, give me his way of practicing his faith, and he's Buddhist. And I've kept trying to just demonstrate my limited knowledge of the Bible and God and so on, but I do know a bit. I mean, the more you look, the more God says, I am a jealous God, thou shalt have no other gods but me. I am one, Shema Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. So I prayed, my last missive to him was, do not presume to try to educate me. Lead me astray into your... And then looking back at that, I just find I'm thinking of Job, who had Job's comforters. And he was struggling and challenged in his life and so on and so on. And they were sort of saying, give up on God. And the same for Polycarp. And that has been repeated and will be going on right now today, somewhere in the world. Someone refusing to deny God through Christ to the point of martyrdom. Amen. The joyous, beauteous thing, you see, Stephen, if you look up Acts chapter 8, when he was martyred, he was looking to heaven. He could see the saints. I don't think his body felt anything. Amen.